So I guess you get a double header with me. I talk about the campaign in addition to being the keynote, so I'm going to keep this still relatively short. Okay, it's going to be a little longer than 5 minutes. It's going to certainly be shorter than 15. But my name is Kijewski. I'm running for Attorney General. You can say it the Polish way, which is Kijewski. You can say Kijewski, which is the anglicized way. I really don't care. I only care if my Polish mother is in the room, and she is not. So there we go. So again, I'm running for Attorney General. I'm doing that really for 3 different reasons. Number 1, I want to restore actual security and stop the lawfare. Number 2, I want for everyone to have your constitutional rights restored. And third, I want to restore your faith in government. So first, I'm going to ask some gentleman over here in the back that just took a photo of me to please stand up. Cliff, can you stand up for a moment? Cliff Frost was a client of mine, and he's actually the victim of lawfare because he's one of the 16 GOP electors that was charged by the current Attorney General with sham charges regarding the 2020 election. I had really no proud day other than, frankly, September 9th of this year regarding this case. Why? Because the judge threw the case out of court because Cliff stood up for your constitutional rights. Cliff, thank you. So I'm going to tell you a little story about Cliff. So Cliff came to my office after a lot of other attorneys said, I don't know if I want to take this, or I got to think about it. Cliff told me his story. They were trying to put him in prison for up to 14 years. Absolutely ludicrous. But you know what? The case got really interesting. I had MSNBC come to the office and they did an interview, and they did ask me early on in this particular case, Cliff, your client, and did he believe that when it came to Donald Trump, did he win? And I said, well, take a look at the alternate election certificate that he signed. And I showed them the certificate. I explained the whole theory of the case. And in fact, when it came to MSNBC, I didn't necessarily think that the reporter would say, I agree with you, but they appeared pretty convinced. Except that they didn't put any of that other stuff on TV. If they did, perhaps this would have been short-circuited by quite a few years. The bottom line is, when you take a look at the current Attorney General, you know what she did? She went to talk to a big group of liberal folks in California, boasting about this case, saying that when it came to Cliff Frost, in addition to the other Republican alternate electors, you know what? I decided to charge him where in Ingham County. You know why? Because it's a very Democratic county. And there are Democratic jurors there, and they're going to convict him. And second, they basically don't believe, that when it came to Biden, he won. They truly believe that when it came to Donald Trump, he won the election. Well, I smiled ear to ear when I heard that. You know why? Because when it comes to forgery, fraud, or any of those type of related crimes, you have to have specific criminal intent. So she knew this early on, that they didn't have the required criminal intent, but she decided to charge him anyway. Some of these folks, they actually had to expend, not necessarily Cliff, but others, up to $250,000 to $300,000 to mount a defense. That day, September 9th, when the judge actually finally dismissed that case, I'm sitting right in front of her. And you know what ended up happening? Counsel that was sitting right to my right next to me, leaned over and said, she's reading directly from your brief. Yes, because we have to do the judge's homework for her. Any competent lawyer needs to do that. But you know what the Attorney General has been doing instead of doing what she's supposed to do? She's going after Cliff. And she also sued Donald Trump 32 times. You know what else she did? She increased the staffing in her office by 50% ever since she took office, almost 7 years ago, not quite. And her budget went up from about $104 million to just shy of $130 million. So she's taking your money, wasting it on lawfare, wasting it on her own weird political stuff, and you guess what is going to happen when I get elected? It's going to come to an end. So when it comes to Cliff, this will never happen again, ever to you. Cliff, thanks so much for your witness. That wasn't my first rodeo with the Attorney General. My first rodeo actually was when I was superintendent for the Archdiocese of Detroit Catholic Schools during COVID of all times. I had 90 schools, 30,000 kiddos, 3,000 employees. Everyone remembers what happened during COVID. If this facility were open at that time, it would be shut down. Schools were shut down. You had businesses shut down, churches shut down, everything's shut down. You even actually had prosecutors, a lot of Democrats and actually some Republicans, that prosecuted people for violating the stay-at-home orders. Absolutely not acceptable whatsoever. But you know what I did when I was superintendent? Second time that she tried to actually shut down the high schools, I sued her in federal court, 42 U.S.C. 1983 action. And guess what? I got her to back down, and all of her high schools, November of 2020, remained open. And you know why? Because the governor decided to have an impromptu press conference just hours before the judge was going to give his temporary restraining order decision. And guess what? We knew it was going to come down in our favor because the Attorney General's office did a terrible job. She had an impromptu press conference, breaking news, channels 2, 4, and 7 if you're in Detroit. She goes up to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, science and the evidence has changed. All the kids will go back to school. Why did that happen? Because Democrats do not want to lose control. What do they want to control? You. They want to control what you do, where you go, and frankly, what you say and what you think. And guess what? As your next Attorney General, I hope we have a Republican governor, but irrespective of the Republican, a Democrat, an independent, if we have any type of lockdowns in the future, I represent all 10 million citizens of the state of Michigan, and I will make sure things stay open, and I will sue the governor on your behalf. No more lockdowns, no more shutdowns, no more violation of your constitutional rights, because we're not going to put up with it anymore. Now, the next thing I just really want to kind of talk about is taking a look at your constitutional rights. And this is sort of more so what I was going to be talking about as part of the keynote. Again, my campaign got merged with this particular portion here regarding the Constitution. So let me say 3 things I'm going to do in order to restore your constitutional rights. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a whole bunch more too, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. Number 1, I believe in constitutional carry. And we're going to bring that here to the state of Michigan. With all due respect to gubernatorial candidates, I'm actually the only person that can do it through an Attorney General opinion. Let me explain what an Attorney General opinion is. It's basically when it comes to the state constitution, state statute, anything that's law related here within the state of Michigan, you can actually write an interpretive memorandum essentially saying what the state of the law is, as long as it doesn't violate a state Supreme Court decision or something along those lines. Guess what? You have, right now, open carry. You know why you have that? Because of a prior Attorney General opinion. It's not because of a governor. It's not because of some type of state statute or anything like that. Well, I'm just going to update it with recent U.S. Supreme Court precedent. The Heller decision is one that comes to mind, and a whole bunch of others, because you should not have to worry about if you go to Walmart, like in Traverse City, you're going to get stabbed, and a whole bunch of other people are going to get stabbed, but hey, you know what? I didn't have a CPL. That's ridiculous. You should be able to have a gun to protect your family, your home, your kids, your church members. I mean, it's ridiculous what happened over there in the LDS church. You had all of those people killed, murdered. Why did that happen? Well, guns don't kill people. Stupid people or evil people or mentally ill people kill people. And let's arm our citizens. Let's not take the guns away. You know, another thing too, again, it's No King's Day. right? I hate this nonsense. I got a few things or anecdotes to talk about that because I encountered a few things on the way up here from Oakland County, driving up to God's country over here. I'll tell you about them in a moment. But, you know, it's interesting. Our governor has been acting like a queen, hasn't she? You know one thing that she has done? Hey, the 35th Senate District, they've gone without representation by the time that special election is called for about a year. 1 year. But the Constitution of the state of Michigan says you shall call a special election. Doesn't give you a time frame. Well, guess what? I'm going to write an Attorney General opinion that's going to define, and it would be actually final and binding on the governor until state Supreme Court, if they want to, say otherwise. Well, here's what a reasonable amount of time looks like. I'm not going to choose like 15 days or something like that, but it's going to be consistent with state statute, state law, case law to say, you know what, it shouldn't be a year for sure. I don't know, 60, 90 days, that sounds pretty reasonable, but again, we're going to give the governor some latitude, but no way are they going to abuse the process to keep you silent. So that's the second AG opinion I'm going to do. The third, as well, when we take a look at AG opinions and restoring your constitutional rights, I'm going to be writing one in order to really well define the role and the rights of parents and students. Because I'm going to tell you what, you have the radical left coming after each and every one of your children. How many of you have heard about those awful health standards that the Michigan Board of Education was attempting to do? A lot of you. Yes, Ralph was there, I was there, Monica was there. I was the only AG candidate there. And I told the Michigan Board of Education what they were doing, apart from, being wrong morally, which it is, more so from a legal perspective, they're violating the law. Because we have a law here in Michigan, a statute that says sex education and health education are two separate things. Sex education you can opt out of, there are parental advisory boards, you have all these other things in place, right? But what they wanted to do was to say that when it came to gender identity, in addition to biological sex, well, we got to teach kids all about this, and we're going to not do it as part of sex ed, that's optional. We're going to put it into health, which is a required class for graduation. That is not legal. And I told face-to-face, looking at Dr. Pugh and everyone else on that board, we only have 2 Republicans on that board, by the way. This is why this election is so important. But I looked them straight in the eye, and I told them, look, as Michigan's next Attorney General, I don't care if it's any school district or state actor, we're not going to put up with violations of the law because parents are the primary educators of their children. I'm going to fight for all of our children. You see, when it comes to being the Attorney General of the state of Michigan, yes, criminal prosecutions are part of it. That's actually kind of not what it's really about, though, in the totality. There's a lot of civil law litigation that you have to do, such as, frankly, taking a look at constitutional rights. Prosecutors, for the most part, in a criminal context, do that, but if you're taking a look at the civil context, a lot of them don't have that experience. This guy does. This guy actually went ahead and filed, on behalf of Cliff, a federal case against Dana Nessel, suing her, and we went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. So Cliff, thank you for that, allowing me to do that on your behalf, because you know what? We showed Dana Nessel that we're serious. But in terms of being the Attorney General, it's all about consumer protection as well. So I actually have a class action lawsuit. I don't know how many of you guys know this. I know a handful of you know. But we're suing Comerica Bank on behalf of all these people who get SSDI, basically disability benefits from the Social Security Administration, because you know what Comerica Bank was doing for years? We call this skimming the float. They were actually taking interest out of any type of interest payments that they were supposed to actually pay people. They basically earned hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars doing this. By the way, the federal government paid them hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. That's called double dipping. That's not right. So if that's not consumer protection, I don't know what is. But in terms of actually fighting for you, I will make sure that no one's going to ever take advantage of any Michigan citizen, let alone all 10 million. Now, here's the other thing I just want to tell you regarding what I want to do. The third thing I want to do is to basically take a look at our elections and restore our faith in them. We have great Secretary of State candidates. We're going to get it done. I believe that we're going to elect a great Republican Secretary of State. But again, we have 15 individuals that voted in the last election that were not U.S. citizens. We only know that because there was just a brief mention from the Secretary of State regarding who they were and saying, oh, you got to trust me. I don't trust any of that. So we're going to actually work with the Election Integrity Committee that's part of the Michigan House of Representatives, take all their information, and no matter how high or how low, we're going to bring people to account because our elections are sacred and your rights should not be diluted. I actually didn't get to any of the stuff I wanted to talk about regarding the Constitution. But with that being said, that's okay. You know what I'm going to do with the Constitution. I don't need training wheels, and you know why? Because I've done this. I'm the only one that stood up. I'm the only one that will stand up for your rights. Kevin4mi.com, thank you so much, and let's make Michigan red again. Thank you.